Well, good morning once again, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center. And a shout out to our online community. So glad you're all with us today. So today we begin a new series based on the book, Birthing a Greater Reality, by Unity minister and author Robert Brumet. So it will be a fantastic ride. So if recently it seems as if it's been the end of your world as you know it, you are in the right and perfect place. If you have been touched in your mind and heart, if you have felt like you have been pushed or pulled based on our last series, where not only myself, but Ron and Rosa, and maybe the still small voice have nudged you a little bit to come out of the caterpillar consciousness, to cocoon yourself in the chrysalis of personal reflection, and to stretch your wings, breaking free to become the beautiful caterpillar that you are. So if your life has felt a little peculiar lately, you are in the right and perfect place. And we're all there together. So what could be more fun than that? Robert Brumet tells us that when you're in that place, you are in a place of infinite possibility. You have arrived at the point of magnificent opportunity, the possibility of transforming your life on multiple levels, on every dimension of your life. And we here come together to inspire and empower ourselves and one another. And so what is life all about but to transform and evolve and grow on every single level of being? Today, we focus on the big picture of who we are as spiritual beings, individual beings, and as the human race. So let's begin with a story. This is one of the many, did I say many? Creation stories that exist about our experience here. So let's begin. Before the beginning of time, the One rested in omnipotence, for there was nothing impossible for her. Then she rested in omnipresence, for she had no limitations whatsoever. She began to rest in omniscience, for it seemed there was nothing she did not know. But the One developed a strange uneasiness. If there is nothing I cannot do, then I cannot know what it means to be powerless. If I have no limitations, then I cannot know what it means to be limited. Therefore, there is something that I do not know. How can I be omniscient? How can I know true power? She pondered these questions. If I cannot experience powerlessness, how can I truly know limitlessness if I have never experienced limitation? How can I understand darkness if I am nothing but light? How can I know anything if I have never experienced its opposite? These questions haunted her for a very long time. It would have, had time been already created at that time, which it wasn't. But the One, being truly omniscient, found a solution for this dilemma. There is a way I can experience opposites simultaneously, I can be omnipresent and limited at the same time. I can be omnipotent and powerless at the same time. Only then will I truly know power and love and light. I will dream that I am powerless. I will dream that I am limited. And in my dream, I will experience all kinds of pain and limitation. As I awaken, the memory of this dream will teach me the ultimate nature of love and power and wisdom. For without illusion, I cannot fully understand the nature of reality. And so the one said, "Let there be light," and there was a big bang. And there was time and space and matter. And so the dream began. Now, it is no small feat to create the universe. It had to be ordered and balanced with incredible precision. For instance, if the energy of the Big Bang had been too strong, matter would have scattered too far and the universe would have eventually disintegrated. But if that same energy had been too weak, the universe would have soon collapsed upon itself. If electromagnetic forces were too strong, the stars would collapse upon themselves before matter could evolve far enough to support life. If the electromagnetic forces were too weak, these same stars would be incapable of having planets. If the universal strong force was too weak, no complex organic molecules could form, and thus physical life would not be possible. But if that strong force were too strong, then nothing beyond helium would have been formed, and life would not be possible. And well, you get the picture. It just wasn't easy. And so as we move into the story of humanity, we have many, many creation stories from every culture and every timeline of the human species. However, it is science that tells us that this Big Bang happened 14 billion years ago, that the Earth formed 4 billion years ago, and molecules formed a single-cell creature 2 billion years ago. We then evolved into this present physical form 2 million years ago. We learned to use tools and to speak, becoming Homo sapiens, which means wise man, 200,000 years ago. However, we kept evolving, and we became Homo sapiens sapiens, meaning wise man, 100,000 years ago. It was with this step forward in our evolution that we as a human race, a human species, noticed that we began to understand, that we actually understood, that we understand. You following? We became aware that we were aware. This has been the most miraculous part of the evolutionary process of consciousness to date. However, that was 100,000 years ago. So you've been a little sleepy since then. So basically, in our evolutionary process, as a species, as a being, we grew up. We evolved into what we are now as a human race. Our next step in the evolutionary process is not to continue growing, but it is to awaken. It is to wake up, to utilize the consciousness that we have in the most dynamic and profound way. So as we continue to evolve, we are awakening from the dream. Remember, the Creator said that she would awaken from the dream and remember the lessons. That's where we're at right now. Many of us are awakening. Some of us are remembering. Others of us just feel like there's something peculiar going on. And some are still asleep. And so as we move through this level of evolution for the human race, we are in many, many different places as a group. It is our next both spiritual and psychological step to awaken to be fully conscious co-creators. We in New Thought know that we are co-creators. We may not remember all the time because sometimes we fall asleep. And then we wake up and remember. And rinse and repeat over and over. Robert Brumet says that according to most theories of evolution, we as a race have chosen to descend among the lower forms of beings, to become the brute beast, and then to be reborn in conscious awareness into a higher form of being. And so the theme of evolution at this time is an ebbing and flowing between our awareness as the beast of mankind and the consciousness of the angel. And so as we move between these levels of awareness and ways of being, we are constantly in a flow. Not necessarily the universal flow, but it is a flow between these two polarities in consciousness. He calls it that we find ourselves halfway between the beast and the angel. Can you see yourself at those two polarities and your life trying to find your place between them? Pretty much on a daily basis, right? In our world, in our nation, and our culture, even within ourselves, when we are honest, we see the potential of the expression of both that beast and the angel. We have seen our greatest enemy, and it is us. I love this little character, Pogo. He's a possum that was created back in the 70s. But when he had the awareness that it is ourselves who are doing the most damage, it stuck with me. I don't even think I was 10 years old, but I saw the wisdom in this comic strip that we are the ones who are our greatest enemy. Illustrator Walt Kelly was trying to awaken others who were somewhat a little groggy. And today we are still at that choice point of who we want to be, of how we want to be in the world. Some would say it's a crisis point, and there's a little bit of truth to that. But Brumet shares that the greatest of paradoxes at this time is that we, the presumably the most intelligent species on the planet, are the ones that are also the most self-destructive, both individually and as a race. Do you see like the disconnect there? How can we then be the most intelligent species when we are also the most self-destructive? So even spiritual psychologists can explain this process. They say that it is caused from our lack of integration between our inner spiritual awareness, our mind and heart, and the outer world. We have failed to parallel our rampant external development with a corresponding growth of self-awareness. So we have created an outer wealth of good, and yet we have kept ourselves in mental, emotional, and spiritual poverty as a race. And this is just one of the small ways that we are self-destructive. If we were all to awaken to follow the yellow dot in the evolution of our own spiritual nature, we would be able to move beyond the trap of imbalance. The science here says that even those of us who are actively on a spiritual path of awakening may only be using a small portion of our potential. Equal to that, as scientists say, the humans are only using a small portion of the percentage available to them in this gray matter that we carry around with us. So as we evolve, we must also step into the opportunity that we can use this more than we know. We can use our heart more than we know. There are equally as many awake and alert cells in our heart as in our brain, and our heart has the capacity to share energy with our entire physical body temple. It's fascinating science. So as we move forward, I invite you to awaken every level of your being, your mind, your heart, your physical body, your emotional language, your spiritual tools. We are on a 7-week journey to birth a greater reality. One of our creations, however, that we call stress, is the leading cause of modern disease. And that disease manifests often when our system is out of balance. When we do not have the balance with the outer, with the inner. When we do not have a balance of our mind and our heart. When we are so focused on the outer realm that we forget the truth of who we are. We create disease and stress and upset. And so we step forward using our spiritual tools and our faith to release ourselves and one another from the trap of imbalance. As we step forward into healing ourselves individually, healing ourselves as a group, and healing ourselves as a race. The planet depends on it. In the teachings of Science of Mind, here's another one for you guys. So, Ernest Holmes is the founder of Science of Mind. Repeat after me. Ernest Holmes is founder of Science of Mind. Okay, very good. So, we're cousins to Science of Mind, now called Centers for Spiritual Living. So, unity and religious science are the two main threads through New Thought. And what he says, Ernest Holmes, is that we should never lose sight of the fact that the soul is on a pathway of an endless and ever-expanding experience, and that only by its expansion can it evolve. And so that is the path that we are on. We are on a 4 billion year path of evolution as a planet and the parts of the planet that must harmoniously co-create together. That is our vision, and so that is what we shall do. So join me on Wednesdays for Wednesday Explorations. They take off again this Wednesday at 6 p.m. We will be looking at deeper chapters of this particular book throughout the series and having a lot of juicy dialogue, so it'll be great fun. And if you're not ready today, prepare to evolve. Namaste.